Lighted deep. Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. The house is finished, a warm little wooden home standing quietly beneath the sky, built not just with bricks and timber, but with dreams, hope, and silent waiting. Tiep walks through each room, feeling the scent of fresh beginnings, but in the silence, a question lingers in her heart. Now that the house is ready, will James come to live with her? Was it just a gift, or was it a promise, a step toward forever? Sometimes, it's not the walls that make a home, but the presence of the one we love. And Tiep is still waiting for that door to open and for James to choose not just the house, but her. The summer sun bathed the quiet countryside in golden light. After months of waiting, building, and dreaming, Tiep stood in front of her new house, a small, cozy home surrounded by vegetable gardens, wildflowers, and the quiet hum of nature. It wasn't grand like James's city apartment. It had no glass elevators or luxury chandeliers, but it was hers, built with care, with effort, with love. She took a slow breath, her fingers brushing against the wooden doorframe. It still smelled of fresh paint and hope. Inside, everything was new, but simple. Hand-sewn curtains, a table she sanded and painted herself, a teapot given by a kind old woman from the market. The sunlight spilled through the windows, warming the space like an old friend returning home. But there was one question she couldn't stop thinking about. Would James come and live with her? In the city, James stared out the tall window of his office. The skyline stretched before him, cold, distant, and impressive, but it felt lonelier than ever. His company was recovering. The chaos caused by John's betrayal had been contained. Investors were slowly returning, yet none of it made him feel whole. He missed the sound of Tiep humming while cooking, the scent of fresh vegetables, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about a good harvest. She hadn't asked him to move in with her. She never pressured him, but he felt the silent hope in her voice when she talked about the new house. He knew she wanted him there. The question was, could he leave the world he built behind? One weekend, James finally visited her new home. Tiep stood at the gate, wearing a straw hat and holding a basket of fresh tomatoes. She smiled when she saw him. Not the kind of smile meant for photos, but the real kind. Soft and honest. "This place suits you," James said as he stepped inside. "I hope it suits you too," she said quietly. He looked around. The house was small, but full of warmth. A pair of slippers waited by the door. 2 pairs, actually, a gentle hint. That evening, they sat outside watching the stars. "I was afraid to ask," Tiep finally said. "You have your world, your business, your city life. This house is too quiet for someone like you." James didn't respond immediately. He watched the stars, then turned to her. "My world feels empty without you," he said. "This place, this house, it's where I can breathe, where I can be myself." He reached into his pocket and took out a small key. "A key," she whispered. "Yes," he smiled. "To your house. Or rather, our house, if you let me stay." Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she didn't cry. She simply leaned into him and nodded. James didn't give up his company, but he found a balance during the week. He handled meetings and boardrooms, but every weekend, he returned to the countryside, to Tiep, to their home. Over time, the neighbors grew used to seeing him help carry baskets of eggplants or chase chickens. Out of the garden, he laughed more, slept better, loved deeper. And to Tiep, she finally felt what home truly meant. Not just a place of walls and windows, but a place where the hearts chose each other, over and over again. They didn't need a mansion. They didn't need perfect timing. They just needed one key, one answer, and one shared promise to build a life, not just a house, together. Tiep woke early, just as the first rays of light painted the sky. She stepped out onto the front porch, a cup of hot tea in her hands. Behind her, James was still sleeping, his arm draped over the side of their bed, looking more peaceful than she had ever seen him in the city. Life here was slower, softer, and more honest. They had only been living together for 2 weeks, but already it felt like home. James helped water the plants, even if he occasionally overwatered the basil. He learned to patch roof tiles and cook rice without burning it. At night, they sat under the stars, listening to crickets and talking about everything and nothing. But this morning, something felt different. As Tiep sipped her tea, she saw a figure in the distance walking toward the house, tall, thin, dressed in a dark shirt. The morning mist blurred his features, but her heart skipped a beat. It was Min. Min had once been a quiet man who played guitar by the roadside. He had feelings for Tiep, even tried to walk away from his wealthy background to live a humble life. Because of her, she hadn't seen him in months. Tiep walked to the gate slowly, unsure of how to feel. "Min," she said. He stopped a few steps away, holding a guitar case in one hand and a small bouquet of white wildflowers in the other. "I heard you finished your house," Min said softly. "I came to say congratulations." Tiep offered a faint smile, unsure of his intentions. Behind her, James appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. He paused when he saw Min and instinctively stepped closer to Tiep. "Min," James said calmly, "didn't expect to see you here." Min looked at both of them, then placed the flowers down gently on the ground. "I don't want to cause trouble," he said. "I just needed to see it with my own eyes, that she's truly happy, that she's safe." Tiep swallowed hard. "I am," she replied, voice clear and steady. "And I hope you'll be too." Min nodded. There was sadness in his eyes, but also a strange peace. "She chose well," he said to James. "Take care of her, not just with love, but with truth." And then, without asking for anything more, Min turned around and walked away. Later that evening, Tiep sat beside James on the porch. "You okay?" he asked her. She nodded. "It's strange. I once thought Min might be the one, but he was just a part of the journey that brought me to you." James took her hand and kissed her fingertips. "I'm not perfect, Tiep. I have a long way to go. Learning to live like this, simply honestly." She smiled. "That's the only way I want you." That night, the wind carried a soft tune. Someone playing guitar somewhere far away. Maybe Min. Maybe someone else. But in their small house, under the star-filled sky, Tiep and James held each other close, no longer chasing dreams in opposite directions. No longer afraid of the past. Just a people who had finally found their place, not just in a house, but in each other's hearts. In a world that often praises wealth, luxury, and power, We sometimes forget that true happiness doesn't always come from a high-rise apartment or a diamond ring. Instead, it often lives quietly, in a humble home, in the gentle way someone makes you tea, or in the steady presence of someone who chooses you every day. The story of Tiep and James reminds us that love is not about appearances, but about presence. James, a successful CEO, came from a world filled with business meetings, tailored suits, and sharp deadlines. Tiep, in contrast, lived a simple life in the countryside, where joy came from harvesting vegetables and sitting under the stars. Despite their differences, they found common ground, not in wealth, but in emotional connection and mutual respect. James did not win Tiep's heart with grand gifts or promises, but with his willingness to change, to slow down, and to embrace her world. Even when Men, a quiet, sincere man who once loved Tiep, returned to see her one last time, he taught us a different kind of love, the strength to let go. Men's respect for Tiep's choice showed us that love also means accepting another person's happiness, even when it isn't with us. From this story, we learn several important lessons. Love requires effort and choice, not just feelings. James chose to leave his comfort zone and build a life with Tiep in a simpler world. Forgiveness and understanding are powerful. Even Men, though heartbroken, respected Tiep's happiness and walked away with grace. A home is not built from bricks alone, but from kindness, shared dreams, and small, everyday actions of care. In the end, we are reminded that the most beautiful things in life often grow in the most ordinary places. When do people decide to build a life based on honesty, not luxury, and love, not ego? As the days passed in their new countryside home, Tiep and James began to realize something profound. That peace was not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of someone who stands beside you through them. Every relationship faces challenges. There will be moments of doubt, outside temptations, and painful truths from the past. For Tiep, it was the fear of not being enough for a man like James, who came from a powerful world. For James, it was the pressure of living up to expectations, managing a company, and leaving behind the fast-paced life he once knew. But what made their love different was this: they did not give up. Instead of choosing pride, they chose communication. Instead of running from discomfort, they faced it together. And that is another lesson the story teaches us, that real love is not perfect, but it is patient, willing, and brave. When Men walked away with grace, he reminded us of the nobility of letting go with dignity, of respecting someone's path even when it no longer includes us. His choice was painful, but it came from love, not bitterness, and that kind of maturity is rare. James, on the other hand, showed us that change is possible, that even someone who lived in glass towers can come down, kneel on the soil, and plant seeds of a new life, one built not on status, but sincerity. And Tiep, she remained a symbol of quiet strength. Her gentleness was not weakness, it was wisdom. She forgave, trusted, and stood firm in what mattered to her: love, honesty, and a simple life shared with someone who truly cared.